So when I came to this point in which I was struggling for ways to make more meaning in my work life and reflecting on my own needs for an experience of that sense of interconnectedness, I found that kind of Christianity didn't really speak to what I was looking for fully. But there were other spiritual traditions that built upon some of the best of what I learned from my Christian background, and helped me as a person, as an individual, become more aware of myself as this sort of spiritual being. And I began to see ways in which that work too could be a very important part of this kind of transformation of both law practice and legal education, my law school institution. So I began to work with others in law who are similarly interested, particularly Charles Halpern and others who are based with the Center for Contemplative Mind and Society. The purpose of those meetings is to surround ourselves in community with people who are practicing a spiritual tradition that is meaningful to them in a way that helps us as individuals, if you will, helps us as spiritual beings experience ourselves in that way, and also to do so in the presence of other lawyers who understand the struggle that we face in trying to bring that perspective to bear within the scope of this much more narrowly delineated professional world. And so again, it's a way of finding community and finding support, I've found, which I find has been very helpful to me in keeping going this long-term project that I'm committed to, of finding a variety of ways of challenging the traditional institutional norms and practices associated with professional lawyering in America. And so through the Center for Contemplative Mind and Society, I have helped put on retreats, annual retreats for lawyers, where we bring 70 to 90 or so lawyers together for a 4 or 5 day retreat at a location perfectly selected for this kind of thing, a mountain somewhere in Northern California or wherever. But the purpose of the retreats is to, again, surround ourselves with like-minded others and to help us learn a set of what you might call spiritual practices or contemplative practices aimed at deepening your capacity to experience yourself in these transformed ways, and to do that in community with lawyers. And I have melded that work into the race work, for example, by offering presentations on the role of meditation, one contemplative practice that we talk about at these retreats, but meditation as a means of assisting us in managing or dealing with, living through, experiencing the challenges of living in diverse communities. And meditation as a means, therefore, that lawyers might be more adept at communicating more authentically with humans who are different, experiencing the challenges themselves, working through their own issues as they deal with other people who are obviously and non-obviously kind of pressing their buttons because of the differences in their experiences as humans in the world. So the work with the contemplative practice, the Center for Contemplative Minds, lawyers, working with the lawyers, has been another space for me within which to develop and strengthen my own sense of the value of a different point of view, to bring that to bear, again, in the classroom, in the writing, in the legalistic institutional setting. So a semester ago, I gathered together like-minded people at my institution, including Professor Josh Rosenberg, who I know you've interviewed for this project, teaches a course on interpersonal dynamics. Gathered together with like-minded folks at my school, and we set about to just have a ad hoc committee, and we call it the Ad Hoc Committee for Contemplative Practice at USF, and law, contemplative practice and law at USF. But really, it was just a kind of mini working group, a brainstorming group, to try to figure out, we're from different places, we've got very different agenda. We had a former Jesuit priest join us. We had a woman who practices real estate law, but is a deep practitioner of Buddhist practice in the Buddhist tradition, and teaches as an adjunct at USF. All of us got together and decided, let's imagine a world in which things would change a little bit here at USF in ways that would fall in line with these projects that we're interested in. And so we decided that we would look at curricular changes. Imagine that we might do something different in the classroom. What would that look like? Would it be coming up with maybe practices or little practice guidelines that we could disseminate to professors that would invite them to experiment with some of these new ways of thinking about law and legal ed in their own classrooms? Or would it be, alternatively, perhaps developing a course or courses that were sort of specifically focused on contemplative lawyering or meditation in law or transformative lawyering or restorative justice? New courses for our curriculum. Could we imagine doing that? How could we do it? Could we teach them? Could we find other teachers to do it? Might we bring in speakers, people who are doing this at other schools, so that we aren't the only ones who appear to be speaking to this, but so that we can sort of rely on the credibility that oftentimes can come from an outsider coming in. In other words, we just started thinking about different ways that we might explore bringing these principles to life in our environment. And so we, last semester, began for the first time offering meditation sessions to law students here at USF. We found a space that wasn't being used as well as we thought it might be in the library, and we set aside a time where we would offer guided meditations to our law students, as well as set aside time and provided cushions and all those sorts of things, where our students could go and meditate on their own. What's the objective there? Really to just sort of, again, in this small way, suggest there's more to your life as a lawyer, there's more to who you are as a human being than you're necessarily going to be presented with in your classroom space. And to provide an opportunity presented by these guided meditations to engage in some discussion about that. Because we sit in sort of a mini version of what I do with my contemplative lawyer group. In the meditation sessions that I lead, I sit with the students for a bit, meditate, I give them some simple, very basic instructions on meditation as a means of, you can call it stress reduction for them, right? Supporting them in the work that they're going to do as lawyers. And that sells. And then after we practice a little bit of meditation, we take a break and we chat, we talk. We talk about what, first of all, the concrete, what came up for them during meditation and how they're experiencing it in the moment. But it inevitably shifts into a discussion of the challenges of legal education, the challenges of being a law student right now, the ways in which their own values are coming up against what they're learning in the classrooms. And that conversation, for me, in the 2 semesters now that we've been doing this, has oftentimes led to deeper conversations outside of the meditation space with particular students about ways that they might more actively think about how their legal education is seeking to sort of socialize them into a particular view of what it means to be a lawyer, and how they might more actively participate in the construction of their identity as a lawyer in ways that might make manifest these different values, these values of connection, these values of mutual affirmation and caring and interconnectedness. And so it's through these various different ways that I have been trying to work to bring about transformative reinterpretations of legal education, legal scholarship, and what it means to be a lawyer.